friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Now that we're moving into a new season, I've really been feeling that shift. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, almost gentle way. Like everything is starting to soften just a little bit. And every time this happens, I always feel this pull to reset. Not in a completely change my life overnight kind of way, but in a slow, intentional way that actually feels realistic. So today, I'm taking you along as I reset my life for a new season, focusing on routines, books, my space, and just creating a fresh start that feels calm, aligned, and sustainable. I always like to start with mindset, because if that feels off, everything else kind of follows. And lately, I've realized that I don't actually need a full life overhaul. I just need to realign what feels good right now. I think winter can feel a little heavy sometimes. Slower, yes, but also a bit stuck. So going into spring, I'm not asking myself, how can I be better? I'm asking, what feels out of sync? For me, that's looked like feeling a little disconnected from my routines, putting pressure on myself to do too much, and not really enjoying the things I usually love. So this reset is really about coming back to those things, but in a softer, more realistic way. Letting things be simple again, letting them be enjoyable again. My routine is probably the biggest thing I'm resetting right now. Over the past few months, it's kind of been a mix of doing what I need to do instead of something that actually supports me. So for spring, I'm simplifying everything. Instead of trying to build the perfect routine, I'm focusing on having a gentler start and end to my day, creating a few non-negotiables that keep me grounded, and letting the rest of the day be flexible. Mornings for me are actually pretty busy, so I don't really have time for anything slow or aesthetic. It's more like get up, get ready, get out the door. So I've stopped trying to force the slow morning routine, and instead I'm focusing on what happens after the day. When I get home, I like to immediately shower and decompress, just fully switching off from the day and settling back into my own space. It's become this really important reset moment for me. Then, after dinner, I usually have two options depending on how I'm feeling. A couple of nights a week, I'll work on blog stuff, planning, writing, organizing. I try to keep this really limited so it doesn't take over my evenings. And on other nights, I'll just read until I'm ready for bed. It's a really simple rhythm, but it's been working so much better for me than trying to pack too much into every part of the day. And I think that's something I'm really leaning into this season. Routines that feel supportive, not restrictive. Of course, I couldn't do a reset video without talking about books. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of the new season. Spring reading always feels a little different. It's softer, a little more hopeful, and just fits that fresh start feeling. So I've been going through my shelves and asking myself, what do I actually feel like reading right now? Not what I planned to read, not what I think I should read, but what fits the season. And for me, it's always romance. It's my go-to genre no matter the season. And right now it fits that slower, softer energy I've been leaning into. So I've been pulling out romance books I've been meaning to get to, revisiting authors I already know I love, and letting myself fully read based on mood instead of structure. I'm also creating a really loose seasonal TBR, which I do have a video of if you watched, I think 2 weeks ago. Just a stack of books I'm excited about with no pressure to follow it in order. And I think the biggest shift here is just taking the pressure off. Reading isn't something I need to keep up with. It's something I come back to whenever I have the time and energy for it. Another part of this reset is my space, but in a really gentle way. I'm not doing a deep clean or a full makeover. Instead, it's little things. Clearing off surfaces that have collected clutter, reorganizing little corners that feel a little chaotic, refreshing spaces I actually spend time in. Even just opening windows, letting in fresh air, and shifting a few things can completely change how space feels. And I always forget how much my environment affects my mindset until I do this. It's not about perfection, it's just about making things feel a little lighter, a little more intentional. Something else I've been gently looking at is my habits. Not in a strict new rules way, but more like, what small things do I want to come back to? For me, that's things like reading whenever I actually have downtime, spending less time on mindless scrolling, and being more intentional with how I unwind. And while I'm definitely not an outdoor person, I am trying to reset my habits to get outside a little bit more each day. Nothing extreme, just small things like getting some fresh air, going for a short walk, or even just sitting outside for a bit. It's less about becoming super outdoorsy and more about just adding a little bit of that into my routine where it feels natural. No pressure, no strict structure, just small habits that make me feel more like myself. Because I think sometimes we don't need new habits. We just need to reconnect with the ones that already worked for us. I think one of the biggest things I've learned lately is that resets don't have to be dramatic to matter. There's so much pressure online to completely reinvent yourself every season, and that's just not realistic. At least not for me. This reset isn't about becoming a different person. It's just about coming back to myself, slowing down, checking in, making small intentional shifts, and trusting that that's enough. So that's my reset for this new season. It's simple, it's slow, and it's very much still in progress. But it already feels like a really good direction. If you're also in a season of resetting, I'd love to know what that looks like for you, whether it's something big or something really small. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay cozy and keep reading.